I don't think I'm gonna be queuing up, but I will be talking about this.
Like I said before, he's the best Yorick player out there.
Yeah, Alois, would you say? Yeah, Alois, could you say that again? Who's the best Yorick player?
A shout out here as well. Go check out his content. He is a streamer, makes YouTube content too, and like I said before, he's the best Yorick player out there. So
You hear that?
Yeah,
You hear that, guys? Who's the best Yorick player out there? Who's the... No, he's not talking about Pokerick. He's talking about me. What do you mean Pokerick? Shut up.
want to learn more about the champion? I think this is absolutely amazing champion, and let's go. I'm gonna give him a call.
He hasn't heard of Pokerick? He obviously hasn't heard of Pokerick.
Yo, nice to meet you. Yo, nice to meet you, man. How's it going?
It's going good. Nice to meet you. I've watched some of your stuff. It's actually I love the fundamentals. Great stuff.
Hey, I was watching some of your YouTube videos yesterday, actually trying to get some new insight on this champion too. Because I actually really like playing him. I did.
Is that you? Who the fuck do you think it is? Do you think it's Pokerick? No fucking shit, it's me.
Didn't expect to have so much fun playing Yorick. I thought his design was kind of boring, but I figured that I actually really like this champion. So, yeah, I am very curious to learn more and new insights about the champion. Have you watched me play Yorick though?
Yeah, I watched a bit of it. You've got, okay, this is gonna sound crazy, but you've got the fundamentals down really well.
Okay, what do you mean with that though? The fundamentals for Yorick.
I think you're doing a lot of the cool stuff, but I noticed like some like for example, I noticed you throw your E kinda weirdly. I noticed you miss it a lot, and I think there's like some stuff you could do to improve it. And I think your like Maiden management. I mean, Maiden management is like super annoying, right? But I noticed like it dies a lot on the tower as well and stuff like that. It just like gets caught off.
Yeah, my Maiden, I know for a fact, like my Maiden management is probably the worst thing that I'm doing with Yorick, because I feel like I'm griefing the Maiden every time. I feel like I'm killing it more than controlling it.
Yeah.
It's like a conscious thing that, like, for example, when I'm running away, I like want to eat them to slow them, but then my Maiden also turns and kills them. And when I was watching your video yesterday, it was against Karma Top. And some people have mentioned it to me as well, but to visualize it, it was different. I see you take turret aggro every time to kind of refresh the aggro on the Maiden, which is a concept that I'm like consciously aware of, but I find it hard to apply.
Yeah. So there's like a few things. So that's like super like, it's like very far up the chain of like, you don't need to do it, but it can help. There's like a few stuff that I can show right now.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
We'll just go over the runes real quick first, because like I notice you go first strike every game, which is fine. I think it's fine, but like the thing about first strike is firstly it's like super good of Eclipse. I tried it quite a lot of games, and I think it's like definitely really good of Eclipse, right? But I think going something like Conqueror or Hail of Blades gives you so much kill pressure in like the early game, and like has like different values. And first strike, it's not bad, but there are a lot of times where it just kind of feels like it does nothing, right? You're mostly doing it for these smaller runes, like approach velocity is really good synergy.
Yeah.
Now I want to explain it, right? I want to explain this kind of idea. I talk about it later on, but I want to talk about it more concisely right now. Like I go first strike, and I've advocated for a few times, but as of the recent times, I think that if you're learning Yorick, if you want to become better at Yorick, right? Going stuff like Conqueror or Hail Blades is a lot more better to learn Yorick, because you get access to kind of like knowing your kill angles and stuff. And the reason why this like knowing these kill angles is that it like improves you as like a Yorick player. So that you don't just randomly miss out opportunities to kill the enemy. You just become a naturally more aggressive player. Like, oh, I know I got this damage. I have Conqueror, I can beat this guy down. I have Hail Blades, I can go for this aggressive play. First strike, it's not bad, but it's only 7%, and it's super like bad in certain matchups where you can't even get first strike off. Like you saw in that Camille game where I fucked up and I missed my E, right? It's much better to just have these consistent damage sources. Also, I think do you go sorcery secondary?
Yeah, I've been running sorcery, but I saw you also run demolish, and I can definitely see the value in that too. Now, I think I've kind of gone too... I just saw the Kerberol's guide, and I was like, alright, this looks pretty cool, and I kind of just went brain dead following that guide. But I've also been seeing that, for example, in some games, it's better to actually rush the, what's it called, Prophet Hydra, instead of building it latest. Some games I like the Eclipse Spike fastest, sometimes I like the Prophet Hydra. But regarding runes, like, I'll be honest, I am completely lost because I saw you run Halo Blades into Karma and I was like, that seems illogical to run a melee-centered rune into a ranged champion. But so I think what I really need as well on the champion is the structure in terms of setup, so my runes and the build.
Runes, me personally, it's... So the thing about Yorick is he has a lot of good rune setups, and a lot of them have like different reasonings, right? You can play for lane, you can play for the overall game as well. But like pretty much every game, I play like... I watch Kerberos and love other Yoricks. They play a more scaling passive style, which is why I think Kerberos' style, where he goes, I believe, Celerity Gathering Storm.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of thematical sense, right? This is set up, I think. But I like going for like early games. That's why you see stuff like Conqueror and Demolish. And I like Demolish because if you ever get a solo kill, you're guaranteed just pretty much the entire tower, or at least like 2 plates of Demolish. And bow playing for like the early game, just threat. Because I feel like Yorick, right? If you snowball with Yorick, it's so easy to just keep the train going because you can farm camps, farm dragons, push lanes multiple times. But if you play a more scaling kind of setup like Kerberos, it's a bit more slower to get to that snow. It's harder to get snowballing with like this kind of scaling setup. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the exact philosophy I'm talking about, right? It's funny because I didn't realize it as much, right, until I started watching Kerberos. Like, I was just watching him because I'm doing some other shit. Right? I usually watch him while like jerking off or something. Maybe not that, but you get the point. And I didn't realize, but Yorick is probably the best champion, or at least like one of the best at snowballing, like continuing to get like push that lead, because he has insane fucking clear speed. He does objectives insanely fast. He does Krug's Gromp literally while pushing waves and shit, and it's so disgusting. And it furthers my point of you need to go these setups.
Is my daddy.
You need to go these setups with like strong early game, so that you can even get to the point where you can like keep him pushing a lead. If you go first strike and scale, right, you don't get plates, you don't solo kill, you're never gonna get access to like these kind of angles, and that just not only like makes you a worse Yorick because like you're not gonna try to go for solo kills, but it just lessens your snowball potential overall. I don't think it's a bad rune page. I just think that you have to understand why, and you're not gonna understand why you're going first strike until you actually like play the champion and do other stuff. I think that's called Ponzi scheme. It kind of is. Like, imagine, right? Imagine Yorick's rune pages like Conqueror and First Strike. Conqueror and Hail Blades are like having $1 million as a starting base to work with. And having $1 million, it's a lot easier to just, make a company or some shit, right? First Strike is like $500,000, but you get a bit of money over time. And more often than not, it's better to just start off with that million and work with that rather than like trying to accumulate. You get what I'm saying? That's like the idea, kind of.
Into mana issues at all?
Oh, you can also run Princess of Mine as well. I find like, so it's there is mana issues, yes, but it's also like I pretty much never use W unless you're going for a big all in. And once you get better at Yorick, you start to like miss less E's. So you don't need to go Princess of Mine as often.
Yeah, because when I look at this, rune page compared to the other one, I feel like this one is, as you state, it's more snowbally. It's centered around aggression, but I find it hard to, of course, spot the same kill windows that you would see in the games because I'm still super new to the champion. Paired with the fact that I feel like the other one in that regard is more forgiving because you get the biscuits, you have the scaling insurance, you're not reliant on killing your opponent. I mean, still you don't necessarily with the other one have to do it, right? You still get the good options, but I feel like this one gives you, I guess, a more easier approach compared to the other one where you're playing more to, how I see it, your limits. I guess you can kind of see it when you're playing Riven, right? A lot of new Riven players would play with TP and or Resolve second to have that more assurance, whereas if you play Riven more, you're going to play Sorcery second with Ignite every game because you know the limits more. You don't have to learn your matchups anymore. I guess that's how I kind of see it.
Yeah, because like like the way I kind of perceive the game is, I think going for really strong setups to snowball is good as like a player because I think if you become better mechanically, you learn your limits, the more access towards like plays you can make and more like opportunities to snowball, right? And I find that like very valuable.
No, 100%. I 100% agree with that, because how I see my philosophy as well, right, for example, is that most of your laning phases in League of Legends, and then also like laning phase most important, are decided in your first 4 waves, right? But my problem with Yorick is I don't see how you can play a lot of those matchups in those first 4 waves. Because I feel like almost every champion outstat checks you. So how do you approach that? Because you say you want to play for Snowball, you want to, you know, win your lane, but I feel like you can start playing lane in a lot of matchups after 6, kind of.
Like and subscribe
Okay,
or
so
I'll die.
this idea is a very... I talk about it a bit more. I want to talk about it now, though. It's interesting because Yorick, it just innately is, right? What's up, Resistor? Yorick innately is one of the worst early game champions in the game. There's no way to put it. But the thing is, right? It's a habit forming where you have to respond back in the early game. You can't get pushed around. Because if you get pushed around and you don't get to see these angles of kill pressures or just like poking back, then you'll never get to access the strong part of Yorick, which is the snowball angle. If you show weakness, exactly right, you gotta fight back. I talk about it in like, I talk about it really well in the first 3 waves for Yorick later in the VOD. Is that the same for Yorick mid? Yeah, it's similar for Yorick mid as well, but the big difference is Yorick mid, you're allowed to get away with a lot of shit. Meanwhile, in top lane, right, if you show weakness, the enemy will fuck you up hard. But like, you're in mid lane, your support can help, your jungle can help, anyone can help. Top lane, you're an island. And in an island, let's imagine top lane as like a relationship, right? And whoever wears the pants wins. You can't show yourself that with Yorick, you don't have pants. But you have to at least act like you have the pants on in the relationship. You can't just take off your pants and go like nilly-willy, be a little bitch. You gotta be the big boy. Even if you are not a big boy, you gotta at least pretend to be one. And that's the philosophy in like, that's the way I see top lane. But it's Skirt Sapphire, what's up, Taki? I completely agree, right? Yorick has one of the weakest like early games because, you know, compared to like top laners like, you know, Riven, Fiora, they can bully you around. I personally find every game, if I don't run a really strong setup early, like Hero Blades or Conqueror, if I go Comet or First Strike and I don't run like Bone Plating, you have to pretty much I think like for low elos this isn't much of an issue, but in like super high elo, right? You just get pushed off the first 3 melee minions XP at the very least if you don't run these setups to like at least fight back.
True.
And like these kind of setups, right, allow you to... I didn't think about this while like talking about it. But earlier, Alois said, oh, you know, really good Rivens run Conqueror and Sorcery, and I know they kill angles, right? Meanwhile, more safer Rivens run TP and Flash and Resolve. It's interesting because if you run this kind of setups, which is not typical for a Yorick player, right? It completely overtakes, or like can just be stronger than these other like top laners where you see a Darius running like Sorcery secondary or like a Riven running Sorcery secondary and not running Bone Plating. You can't just beat their ass, stat check them.
Slog.
Like super commonly, Rivens will run this setup. It doesn't matter, right? We'll just say this, where they go like Nimbus Cloak and fucking Transcendence. None of these runes like do anything in the early game. You can argue Nimbus Cloak, right? But compare that to like your setup with like Yorick, right? Let's say Hero Blades. You have a very strong fast trading tool, you have healing, and you have Bone Plating. That's like 3 tools straight from the beginning to fight with. Meanwhile, Riven literally only has 1. Just Conqueror, that's it, nothing else, right? And you gotta think of it in that kind of manner where it becomes more prevalent as you get high and high elo, but you want to build this habit of at least being like existence in the early game. You're gonna take a bad trade, but the bad trade will push them back as well, right? So like you can deal like maybe a Fiora will do half the HP, but at least you just spawn back with like 1/3 of HP, and you get the EXP as well, and you'll be at a deficit, but at the very least you got like that opportunity for the first 3 melee minions. But meanwhile, if you go if you lose the first 3 melee minions, right, and then you run these kind of setups, you're just so far. I feel like those minions XP set you back so far that it's like you lose all prio and you don't have any like good way to get in the game.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
But it's like.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you go.
No.
You go.
No, I can totally see where you're coming
times.
from, because right now my perception is also still different, right? Because I'm playing in way lower MMR than, let's say, like Grandmaster, Challenger as a Yorick. The higher you get, the more you will get zone dust from those first 3 minions, and the more you will get contested in the early game. So I can see your logic being, I'm gonna take as strong of a rune page in the early game to kind of compensate how weak my champion is, so I can still somewhat play the early laning phase. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
But I also think it's like, I think these setups are definitely fine, but it's more so also building like kind of, like these aggressive rune pages is also for building good habits for high elo. It's another thing as well, where you want to establish, like for example, if you're stronger than enemy and you don't establish that and you just like play safe, you're not really using your champion to what they can do. So that's why I suggest these like stronger rune pages early, so that like lower elo players can find out, oh, I'm capable of doing this in this kind of scenario. It's also another thing where, so Maiden release, this is related to like Maiden release, right? Maiden release is it's a fine strategy in the late game, but I see a lot of people asking, oh, when is it okay to release Maiden, right? And I find it really like just a much better answer to pretty much never release Maiden, especially like below level 18, level 16, before level 3 ult, because it's a bad habit where, let's say you release Maiden, right, and it gets you a kill on the side lane because like the enemy just, like there's an enemy iron player doesn't know how to deal with it. It's like, it's a fine play, but in much more like, as you get higher and higher elo, right, these kind of crutches don't work as well.
Yeah, the way I see Maiden release is that
I kind of like, I didn't have a script or anything, so I kind of just had to like think of my way as I go. God, I could reword that so much better. But conceptually, right, the main reason I don't recommend Maiden releasing is because it's a horribly inconsistent strategy that is purely reliant on how stupid the enemy is, which obviously worsens as you go higher and higher elo, right? And I think that it's really important to just build normal good habits where you don't need to do these to, like, you know, kind of do that. Enemies isn't what you want to Maiden is fucking hilarious. I agree. I completely agree, you know? Like, Maiden release is like really cool and funny strategy, and it can do a lot sometimes. But more often than not, it's just not good to do. Well, first Maiden release kill in a Grandmaster game? Oh no, definitely. Sometimes I release Maiden and people will still fucking die to it. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily a good play, right? I'll try to analogize it a little bit better, right? Imagine that you are a pro basketball player and you play against 2 teams. You play against, I don't know, a fucking like LeBron James and his squad, and you play against a bunch of preschoolers. And one strategy that you get really used to doing is bouncing your balls. This is gonna say, bouncing the basketball on a kid's head, and they don't expect it or some shit, right? You don't, and then you try against LeBron James, that shit ain't gonna work. He gonna fucking slam the head at you as well, you know? You don't want to do that. Like, you want to build the habit of just having a different idea that will work against LeBron James. And yes, you may not do that well, like you may not play as well or do as well against the like kids because you're doing your LeBron James strats, but eventually it will pay off and you become a better player because of it, right? Which build is the best on a sit push and end the game ASAP as Yorick? Whatever build I go, it's the GOAT. It depends how the game's going, because Maiden release is just not the best option, it's just situational. I completely agree. I think Maiden release has its spots. The point I'm trying to make is you don't want to build a good you don't want to build a habit of just, oh, Maiden release because I feel like it, you know?
But I would kind of do it if I can, for some reason, have 2 pushing side lanes so that I can like keep one automatically push and like TP to the other one and then pressure both at the same time. Especially if like somebody would be dead on the map, something like this. Like you kind of need to have 2 pushing side lanes. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But
So,
I have one more question regarding the setup, right? So, I feel like you can kind of classify matchups in like hard losing matchups. Maybe.
okay, we kind of moved on to that point, but the way, okay, I'll explain Maiden release right now. I'll make a video eventually at one time. I guess this is gonna be a video. Maiden release is good for like 2 or 3 scenarios, and I'll explain the scenarios real quick. The first scenario is, it's good when you're mid-fight and you're gonna leave the fight, and Maiden's kind of already in like the heat of battle. You can release Maiden while you're running away, and while Maiden is running towards its nearest lane, it'll hit enemy on its way. It'll hit any enemy in its range towards the lane. So like you're fighting in bot river, right? And then you're like, oh fuck, I gotta leave. And then what you can do is, because Maiden will follow you in neutral situation, right? Is you can release Maiden, and while it's running to bot or mid, if it sees any champions, it will just start hitting them. And that's extra damage in a fight, and that could matter a lot, right? The second scenario is, if it's super fucking hard late game, like level 16 onwards, right? And there's a big objective, and you know for a fact, my presence is gonna matter a lot in this fight, right? Let's say you're the fed one, and everyone else is not that fed. But you also see like a bot or top, right? You know, towers are kind of pushed down, inhibs are kind of exposed. You can release Maiden in those kind of scenarios, like a minute before a big objective comes up, and you help set up and pressure the big objective, and your Maiden's like pushing the other lane. And this is where you have the opportunity.
Dog is my daddy.
You have the opportunity, like after or during the fight, to go for that TP backdoor angle. Obviously, you can just go for like a normal Ghoul push instead, but the Maiden, let's say you can't get a Ghoul push scenario, you can just put down Maiden instead. You know what I'm saying? And the third scenario is, well, how do I describe the scenario? I don't think it's even, there isn't even like a third scenario. But let's say that you are completely fucking useless, and you are so behind that you can't get money and EXP efficiently, and you know and like the enemy's kind of clumping all together, right? You can release Maiden to just kind of like, hey, you know, try to get money and EXP for me while you group with your team, and maybe your Maiden pulls someone to the side lane.
Even matchups, and then like.
Other than that though, like Maiden release 99% of the time is pretty fucking shit. Yeah, you can also try to release Maiden right when you're about to die, instead it goes in 0-second cooldown, but like, I mean, you're just relying on a bug. I also don't talk about the Conqueror bug in the video, because, I mean, it's a bug, I don't really want to like...
Yorick main secrets stay secret. Hey, we shh.
Like good matchups, right? Would you go Conqueror or Hail of Blades in every one of those matchups? And when would you, for example, prioritize Conqueror or Hail of Blades?
Okay, so I think that the end or the best rune, most consistent, definitely the most consistent, is Conqueror. You can't go wrong with Conqueror, because let's say you're playing against a tankier champion. Great, value of Conqueror everywhere. In your hard matchup, right? Long fights, this is great as well. Even if you're in against like a really squishy champion like Vayne, one all-in, you get a lot of value in the early game, especially against Conqueror, and it'll work better along, even as the game goes on. It's still fine. There's also like a bug that's been on Yorick called the Conqueror bug, where you can get multiple stacks of Conqueror from ghouls. But even outside of that, it's just... Wait, I do actually talk about it. Okay, it's fine because I don't explain how to do it, alright guys? I don't teach him how to do the Conqueror bug. Snitch? Shut up! I ain't snitching! I'm not, don't call me a snitch! Listen, I didn't show him how to do it, so it's fine, okay? Oh shit. When you can't save Maiden, you can also release Maiden when you know she's gonna die and you want to die faster. That's a good scenario. Like a really base, strong general rune. Hail Blades, on the other hand, it's a very, very, very new, so I'm still kind of testing it, right? It was found by M Spectrum. Basically, this works really well. So, look at me, what a nice guy, referencing it from the person himself. Woo! Look at me giving credit. Yo, M Spectrum. Much love, brother. I'll explain Hail Blades, because I think a lot of people don't understand why it's so good. They did a recent change of Maiden so that the Maiden procs no longer have a cooldown. And this makes Halo Blades really, really strong for burst. It also gives us really solid early game, and also scales really well with Profane Hydra, because Profane Hydra's attack speed scales off your attack speed. So you can like auto queue Profane Hydra, and it's like thousands of damage in less than a second.
I saw your clip.
I'd say Halo Blades. Pardon?
I saw your clip against Riven.
Yeah. Many people don't expect it. I'll show the clip real quick. I'll show the clip real quick to give some context. There's this clip here. This is a Halo Blades clip.
Riven, 1v1 me, pussy.
I'm gonna coach Alois. I coached him like 2 days ago, I believe. It's so much damage, and it's such a fun rune as well to dick around with. And that's a lot of the like damage, but also at the same time, right? It makes it so that there's a few reasons why Hellblade's good, but it makes it so that you can't. Yorick's main problem with Lethality Yorick is if he plays from afar, he spams ghouls. It's really, really just like really dangerous. But also, if you let's say you're playing Riven or like an assassin and you get in his face, that's kind of where he's weak if he goes like Conqueror. And Hail Blades kind of makes it so that if Yorick ever gets near you, you're like in immediate just like one-shot threat as well. The Lethality build.
Okay, so could you like name, let's say, so Riven is one of the champions you would take this into over Conqueror.
Yeah.
And
so also okay, yeah.
Because what I kind of try to figure out is, would you take? So for example, let's take Irelia, right? I think you should probably ban Irelia as a Yorick player or Jax. But if you played against Irelia, would you say Conqueror or Halo Blades is better, or is it kind of like both good?
They're both pretty good. It's I wouldn't say like one. I'd say like I don't know. It's like for that kind of matchup, they're both kind of as good as each other, because I feel like Yorick now can kind of stat check Irelia if you have Maiden out and you can just dodge the E. You should just win in a stat check because of the Maiden proc damage. But yeah, against someone like Irelia, it's very hard to kind of like say, because I still kind of agree with that mentality. It's like, I wouldn't say one's better than the other, because Halo Blades gives really good burst. And there are two types of scenarios against Irelia that Halo Blades and Conquerors get into, right? I'll explain the first one. Against Irelia, right, level 1, Conqueror is just really consistent and can often just beat her out. And Halo Blades is also good too, but if it gets into a long fight and she has Conqueror, it can get a bit awkward. But like at the same time, I'd say Halo Blades, I don't even know, it's like so hard to try to explain which one's better. Because Halo Blades is pretty much 4 instant Maiden procs, and Conqueror is just like, you just get so much damage because of it. It's hard to explain. Like Irelia matchup is super like variable. Like, for example, right, Conqueror is just not gonna be as good as Halo Blades into squishy champions, full stop, compared to Halo Blades. So that's where you want to go Halo. Yeah, it's very, very matchup dependent it's very item dependent as well. Like for example, if Irelia is going like a really squishy builds, right, Halo Blades will just fucking maul her, and Conqueror, it will just like win if she goes to tankier build. Grass is way better than Conqueror for short trades. If you go Grass and Yorick, you are probably brain damaged, right, into like squishier champions, like, like for example that Karma game, right? I can't proc. You're right in the way that I can't proc Halo Blades against Karma easily, but at the same time, it's more so if I ever get to proc Halo Blades, she's pretty much just guaranteed dead, right?
Yep, that makes sense. And then one final question regarding setup is, does the build change regarding or depending on the rune setup that you go? So if you go Halo Blades, Conqueror, or First Strike, whatever it is, do you keep going Lethality? I mean, Yorick is gonna get changed with like the E is getting nerfed, right? But when do you go for Bruiser? When do you go for the Lethality setup? Because that's the last thing that because when I go First Strike right now, I'm going Lethality 100% of the time. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But when you go Halo Blades, Conqueror, I think you can kind of optimize the builds depending on the scenarios that you're in. So what are like some metrics that you think about where like, okay, this is good for, or here, how I would say that Bruiser is better, and here I would still go Lethality.
Guys, you'd never guess my answer to this question. Do I go Bruiser or Lethality Yorick? You guys would never guess it, man. Bruiser, Lehtality, Yorick. Why the city is not Swiftest? I do go Swifty sometimes. I just haven't changed it. Grass has the highest win rate. Yeah, because grass, it doesn't matter because it's like, I mean, win rate is such a horrible way to dictate how good something is, right? I mean, are we really gonna say Yorick is completely fucking broken right now in the game because he's like almost 60% win rate in Iron? You also have to think about a majority of the fucking runes played on Yorick are in low elo. Like the amount of games, like let's say if all of the Masters Plus games on Yorick was to be put into like a sample size with the Yorick stuff, you wouldn't even hit 0.01% of the total Yorick games that are played because the low elo are just such overwhelming majority of Yorick players. I can literally show it right now, right? It's a harsh reality. That's why Yorick is even getting nerfed. Like Freak, even Freak was like, yeah, this champ's just like, he has to be dog shit in high elo, right? Like 22,000 games. That's already like 10 times more than Master Games will ever fucking reach, right? And in low elo, it doesn't fucking matter what rune you run anyways. You could fucking I'm not even joking. You could just run fucking Unsealed Spellbook. As long as your champion is Yorick and Iron, it's already rigged. You already have the highest the game's not fucking fair, you know? You start off with an advantage. It's like having an extra card in your deck or some shit. It's like having an extra mana crystal. It doesn't matter. If anything though, I completely agree. Going more brain dead, simpler setups are more incentivized as you hit low and low elo, right? Like the more bruiser your build is, the better it is. It's a bit sad, but it's the cold harsh reality. But like, I've always said this a million times, right? I've always said this a million times. If you whatever, it's not about what I think. It's not about what you think. It's about whatever works best for you. And if you're doing well with Grasp, right? Why the fuck would you not play it? You know what I'm saying? I guess it's kind of hypocritical towards like my idea of do what's like, do the consistent thing that'll make you better as you get higher elo. I'll be honest, like every single matchup, unless it's go grass, don't go grass. I just go the Lehtality anyways. I think Conqueror is another reason why Conqueror is so good is because it's just versatile. Like you can always flex into a more tankier build, into like a full tank, a full bruiser. It's you can go anywhere. So I want to talk about this again. Okay, let's think about Grasp from a normal perspective, right? If I auto twice with Conqueror, it already has outvalued Grasp. If I fucking get one combat proc, it is already outvalued Grasp, plus combat has range. The only advantage Grasp has is the fact that it gives you health back. But who even cares that much for that? Actually, you know what? I think Grasp is good in low elo because you think about it from like the more predominant build setups where you can go Sun and Sky. Actually, I don't even know. It's hard to explain because like there's two really strong. I think both Lehtality and Bruiser Yorick are really strong in low elo. I don't even know what's the meta build in low elo because I don't give a shit. What's like the problem? Like it's hard to even think of what's problematic in low elo for Yorick because it's such like a. Like you see this right? Let's just go to Iron. The highest win rate build is just like a Lehtality setup, and there's just zero synergy with Grasp at all. But it doesn't fucking matter, does it? Oh my god! I did not expect to see that Grasp is actually lower pick rate than Conqueror. Holy fuck, that's cool as shit. Firstly, but secondly, yeah, it is highest win rate, but. My main problem with Grasp is you miss kill angles if you go Grasp, and I really don't like that. I think if you miss kill angles by going any rune, then it's not a good rune. And I promote. Okay, you know what? I just completely forgot that. No, I'm completely missing the point of why you shouldn't go Grasp. I'm sorry. The reason I don't recommend Grasp on Yorick is because it promotes like a not a good style of Yorick to play that wouldn't work in high elo, or like wouldn't be as proficient. In the way that going for Q trades, like early game, like oh yeah, let's go for quick Q trades against Darius, Mordekaiser, Yon, Jax. Let's try and go for a quick Q trade. Let's try that out, right? And yeah, you can do it any fucking time you want low elo. Boom, mega Grasp procs. I'd fucking love it too. But you try that shit as you get higher elo, and you're gonna get axed, right? You're gonna get fucking axed. Like, if we're gonna say the win rate argument, oh look, Ignite Ghost has the highest win rate, why don't you go Ignite Ghost every game? I think win rate's TP Smite has a really good win rate. Why don't we go TP? Like, win rate is such a weird thing to go off of, and I understand that it has a high like pick rate, so there is some correlation. But you also have to think about where it's predominantly strong in as well. Ice Rune page, Rasp. Let's go fucking Let's go magical footwear and biscuits. As you know, like if we're mathematical, this is mathematically the highest win rate Yorick build, guys. Let's go fuck biscuits and boots. Instant like approach velocity is by far the best rune. Let's also get plus 2% movement speed on Yorick, even though it has zero synergy at all with his kit. But it makes him faster. Let's go tenacity and slow resist with no consideration of the game at all. I'm not saying grass is always bad, but it's just like more often than not, it's not good against a lot of his counter matchups. It's definitely just more specialized towards like lethality. It's still fine on Bruiser, but it's obviously like more definitely you want to abuse that attack speed for lethality. Conk is so popular since it's picked as default most of the time for me. Yeah, like with Yorick, there are so many options, so many different choices. You can do a lot, right? I think in terms of like the matchups where you would prefer going like Maiden, shut up. Bruisery or damage, I think matchups like, for example, against Tryndamere, I'll explain this because I don't think I explained it properly. The way you play matchups is around the philosophy of how you're meant to play the matchup in a general sense. So against Trend, right, what you want to do is you want to burst, I explain it here, but you want to burst him out with Hail Blade so they get his ult, and then it doesn't matter what fucking build, whatever you want, doesn't matter how much damage you do. Your mission after he ults is to just survive. And in that kind of scenario, right, tanky items are a lot more valuable than damage items. But the thing about surviving is, even though it is based on your build, your gameplay is a giant portion of it as well. So 90% of the time, I'd still go fucking full damage into Tryndamere anyways, because I don't give a shit. I just outplay him with my W. It's kind of like, and it's the same idea as against Mord as well. People are like, oh, let's go QSS against Mord, and that's not a bad idea as well. But why would I go QSS? Why would I go QSS against Mord when I know that I can outplay his Death Realm by good W positioning and just like playing around in my wall? It's very. I think Yorick is a really good champion in a way that his matchups are fucking brutal and his counters will just decimate your ass. But if you play well and you know what the enemy wants to do and you know what you have to do to circumvent that, then it'll be fine. Now I think Mord's actually a pretty like bad matchup now, especially against thing. I've meant to play against Mord. I was watching Alois play against Mord, and in my mind, Mord is such like a simple kind of, you just play bring around a W, you want to play around a W. And I know it's got a heart of grudge removal, but watching Alois play, it made me oh man, this actually is a really hard matchup if you don't like kind of play around a W properly. You want to stall him out kind of scenario, and that's where Hail Blades is really efficient, because you can get to the point where you pop his ult and get to stall him out. But also like a Bruiser build is really solid because you just want to survive, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it depends on like conceptually what your goal is in the, like what the enemy champion wants to do and what you want to achieve. So for example, like Darius is another good one where Hail Blades would be much better because compared to Conqueror, because Darius wants. This is a really bad example. I think this is a bad example in the way that Darius is a matchup where you can literally do whatever you want and it will work. You can poke him out, you can play for a big all-in, do what the fuck you want. It's not a bad matchup. The only thing you need to do is just not like be careful to not get all in that. To get to the 5 stacks, you want to get attack before it gets 5 stacks. Something like that, right?
Yep. Okay, I can see it, but I can also see how it's like counterintuitive to go no, I mean it makes sense. Because you're going a rune where so in my logical approach, I would say that first strike is probably best against Darius because you want to refrain from being in melee range with him too much. But then again, if you have your Halo Blades and you can outstitch him that way, then it's good to do it like that, right? So I think I just don't have good insight of how much damage Yorick can really dish out. But I guess with Halo Blades, you can still beat the Darius before he gets his 5-stack. So yeah, it makes sense what you're saying.
I was gonna say, like, I'm sorry for not reading much like chat because I'm kind of focused on the thing. Ghouls do not get one shot by Ramos W, no. Yeah. I mean, sorry, I was like thinking in the context of like Conqueror versus Halo Blades, but yeah, that's definitely where like First Strike comes in, where there's just matchups where you don't even want to get into melee range at all. Like, I personally go Halo Blades to the Aatrox, right? But in general, you don't even want to get into Aatrox's range of Qs. You just want to play from afar of Ghouls, so yeah. Okay. I do agree with that.
So, if I want to learn Yorick the fastest way, the most efficient way, you'd recommend that you say the most versatile is Conqueror, so I just play a lot more Conqueror, Yorick, and then again, to some specific matchup, I can try Halo Blades as well.
Yeah, I think Conqueror is just the best in all ways. It's never a scenario I'm like, oh damn, I went Conqueror, that's so bad. But there are a lot of scenarios where, like, let's say I'm fighting an early game, oh, if I had Conqueror, I'd win in this kind of scenario. Or like, yeah, I think it's more so you just have to like play with it, and then once you get a feel of it, you'll like definitely realize the differences between the runes.
Okay, that makes sense.
I can't express that idea enough. You just have to play it to know it, you know. I think it's a bit more hard to capture the kind of like the less experience you have, but once you gather enough experience, right, you'll start to be like, oh my fucking god, this going Conqueror is like cocaine. And it's why I always complain when I don't go Conqueror. It's the main reason. What did I always pay for the coaching? He didn't pay for the coaching. It's just like a kind of a homie, yo, I coach you, brother, you know? Yeah, Conqueror is the best generalist one.
Okay, then...
So around $700. Around $700. Yeah, somewhere around there.
And yeah, like you said, you still just go Lehtality. Like you would go, I don't know, Dirk into Profane Hydra and then optimize the
Friends discount $700.
What champion you're playing against.
Yeah.
Okay, then that creates a very easy, approachable picture. So I'll just start playing Conqueror Yorick right now and see how that goes.
Yeah. There's also like a few things I want to show kind of in practice tool to help you with like Maiden and also some other stuff. So I can show that real quick. Okay. I was like, all of that shit was good, but this is where the real meat, where like, I was planning to put this in longer videos, and I will, like when my weekly Yorick guide comes out. But this is the fucking meat, baby. This is the meat. The main stuff. It's like super weird.
And also to get used to, because you have to keep thinking about Maiden pathing when you're moving yourself. And
are you
just
this?
A weird
Fuck
concept
you.
For me still.
Yeah. It's like super weird. It's very weird because no other champion really. I think Yorick's really cool because he's in this weird spot where, like, in the community, he has this stereotype of just being this bruiser guy, but he has so much like complexity, I feel, compared to most other champions.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I like Yorick as well thus far, because he is so different to any other champion in the game that there's nothing you would say like, for example, if you like compare Olaf to Darius, those are like kind of similar in playstyle, right? But I feel like there's nothing that plays similar to Yorick, and that's why I really like him too.
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I kind of want to show is it's invisible, but like, we'll kind of use the circle, right? Like, there's an invisible radius around Yorick, and if you leave this kind of radius... It's not around Yorick, Slugdog, you fucking idiot. It's around Maiden. God, Slugdog is so fucking stupid. It's around Maiden, not fucking Yorick. God. Yorick will follow you. I mean, the Maiden will follow you. So, you see where I'm standing, right? If I walk, like, Maiden will follow me, kinda. So... it's like this small circle around Maiden, and if it's like kind of neutral. So let's say if I walk around, you see I walk around in a circle, it doesn't do anything. This seems like a really basic concept, but I think in order to understand how to manipulate Maiden and play around Maiden properly, you have to know these basic concepts to the very, like, you have to keep them in your head, and if you keep them in your head, a lot of stuff will make a lot more sense later down the line. It's like mathematics, in a weird way. It's a weird, it's around Maiden, yeah. But the second I leave that circle, right, which will come back to me. So that's like the first one. Can you explain how? Yeah, I did, Feather. And the first one, and another one is, if you hit something, Maiden will hit that unit for exactly 2 seconds. And what you can do is, so in laning phase, it's a really common scenario where you hit the enemy champion, right? And then Maiden will just go a little bit too deep and just go into a tower or something, right? You can hit a minion really quickly, and then it will switch to that target, and you can just walk away, get grab control.
So you would like hit the champion on the turret, and then quickly hit a minion and walk away.
Yeah, kind of like that. This will be going on YouTube, and yes, this is actually, I think this is probably like one of the coolest things in terms of content-wise, because one, Alois is fucking amazing. He's an amazing player, and it was really fun to be able to teach him this stuff, right? Scorch make it stay longer. There is no rune or anything to make it like a thing. It's just purely Yorick Maiden. Nothing interacts with it. If you hit something, Yorick will hit that unit. If Yorick hits something, Maiden will attack that unit like for 2 seconds, around like a 1.2k radius kind of circle, right? And you can, and then there's a second property where if you hit, let's say you hit something, right? Maiden will hit that for 2 seconds. If you hit another thing, Maiden will hit that instead. And what you can do is you can hit like an enemy champion, like under his own tower or some shit, and then Maiden will grow to that for 2 seconds, which can be really bad because you can run it into the tower. But what you can do is you can hit like a minion that's further way back, and then Maiden will like hit that minion and can get out of the tower. It's very, very iffy. Okay. So, if you hit a dying unit, is he gonna play or just do whatever he's doing? I'm probably like, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna play, yeah. But like for now, I'm just doing this. Like you just last hit a minion, it will instantly go back to your control, right? So let's say like I'm hitting a champion at a tower, right? And this minion, I hit this, and just like walk away and it'll come back. You see, like it instantly switched. Oh, what the fuck? You're sending that, so it's going with that. Now, E has so many different properties that like me. So this is more so to stop it, so that Maiden doesn't just run it under tower. Like for example, we kind of have to demonstrate. I don't know how I'm gonna demonstrate this. If I hit this like champion, right, and then this guy runs deeper in, Maiden will just run into it, right?
Yes.
But like let's say there's like a minion over here, then I can, okay, well that's a bit far, but you can hit like a dying minion here, and it will switch.
The target of the Maiden.
It's gonna be so hard to demonstrate. Yeah,
I can visualize it. Yes. Is that no? I mean, it's hard to demonstrate, but I can visualize what you're saying. My question is, does that also apply if you've landed your E? Because I see that the target instantly switches if you just auto attack it, right? Like the Maiden will switch. Yeah, but my issue usually is when I've landed my E, I feel like the Maiden sticks to the target for like.
Why did I put it? There's no way I would have maybe hit this and then go on the moment. I didn't know how to show the example, okay?
A duration as well. So can you do the same trick after you've landed your E on the champion?
Okay, so if you E, no matter what, it will ignore everything you like want. If it sees the enemy, like it will just gun it. So one thing you can do, so I talked about earlier how it walks behind, oh yeah, also Maiden just walks directly behind your back. So I see this scenario happen a lot with just Yoricks in general, where you'll kind of motion like this, right? But, and you can do something really stupid like this and get Maiden in a really dangerous scenario for no reason. And now it's like really annoying to pull out. You have to walk back like that, right? So what you want to do is when you walk up, you kind of just have your neutral position. Like you want to have the stop command as well. Stop command's really useful for this, where you're just facing towards the tower instead of just doing something like lazy like this and you just let Maiden die. So that's like another thing.
Oh wait, so the Maiden box.
That might be like. This is so like instinctive for me. I forget how basic this concept is. This is so fucking basic, but I'm not joking. Just knowing this alone and playing around this will save half of your Maidens. This is so fucking important. I don't know why I don't talk about this enough, but knowing the idea, Maiden will always face your back is like so fucking vital.
There because she comes to your back. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, she goes to your back.
Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
okay, so now I was like, why is the Maiden going to the turret? But okay, now I see why. So you have to think about where you're facing. I didn't even know that. Okay, that makes sense.
Now the reason why, another thing that I didn't talk about conceptually Yeah, it's like if you're a really good Yorick player, it's like subconscious into you. But you gotta understand that. And the reason why earlier I talked about the leash range is because when you get Maiden in this scenario, like let's say you have Maiden in this scenario, right? Knowing its leash range is really important because then you can fish it out.
The difference already.
As well. Now, this is like the most important one, right? So, this is really hard. So, if you didn't know that, right? You just toss the E and then Maiden will just gun straight for it and then I can't really push her out no matter what.
Yes.
It's because Yorick, like, is only if Maiden is in a certain range to see the enemy. So, like I said, the enemy is here, right? If I just E like this, because Maiden's far enough, it won't chase. So that's why you want your neutral position like this, right? But if I'm kind of careless like this, let me get my cooldown, and I E, Maiden will just gun it, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to like, you want to be careful when you E.
Yeah, but I feel like the most important thing to this is your positioning before your E, not necessarily the E. And just now being consciously aware that your Maiden will always stand behind you. I haven't even thought of that, but now it makes sense why I'm inting my Maiden already so often. Like just that thing already changes up a lot.
Yeah. And then like the turret aggro, it's gonna be a bit weird. The turret aggro, it's like, so, how do I explain it? I'm gonna be real, this part is so bad, I'm not even gonna bother showing it. Just walk in the tower and walk out and pray that its RNG is good, okay guys? Just pray. You can watch it yourself, just pray that the RNG is good, okay? Oh no, Maiden's getting hit and you just like do this. And then it's immediately like a lot better of a scenario. It's the reason why. Basically, it's simple. Okay, I'll talk about a more simpler concept. Maiden is so important to Yorick that if you see Maiden running it down, like at the enemy chasing on the tower, like over here or some shit, right? Like fuck it, just walk into the tower and take a tower shot or two, because your Maiden is infinitely more important. Yeah, you need minions to show this, right? And having ghouls helps a lot. And having a cannon is super easy. But I don't have minion web, so it's hard to show like trying to manipulate Maiden on tower is really awkward. Like trying to get that kind of scenario is because when Maiden and ghouls all have like a different attack timer, so it can really fuck with like the tower. Also, yeah, there isn't really a proper way to execute this properly, realistically, because every single game is different when you Maiden manipulate. The reason being, when you E an enemy, Maiden, ghouls, minions, everything attacks them at a different time, and you can't really predict that while you're in the game. You just kind of have to like jam your head in there, and it's just like super confusing. It's really easy to do with like cannon minions, because shut the fuck up, slug dog.
You want, or let's say you auto attack something, it's gonna stay aggro to it for exactly 2 seconds. You said you attack the new thing, it instantly aggroes again.
Yeah, so I'll hit this right and I hit this for 2 seconds, but let's say hit this and I hit this, it changes mine instantly.
Okay, yeah.
And unless you E something. If you E something, it doesn't give a shit, it will hit that unit, right?
Okay. Makes sense.
That's also, I don't know if I talked about that, but that's also really important. If you just E the enemy right and Maiden spots it, she'll fucking gun it. She'll just gun straight for it. Oh my god, is that a hot naked big booby woman coming out of the sky? Oh my god, like she'll just gun for it, alright? She'll gun for it. So like don't fuck around with ease unless you understand your better control. Or like you have a lot of ghouls in the cannon.
So
also,
I guess,
the 2 seconds is interrupt by hitting the target, yes.
Oh, sorry, go.
Yes, this is like kind of unrelated, but like with E, this is pretty obvious, but if you throw E far, it's like a lot more dodgeable, it's a lot more visible. But if you do like E, if you do point blank E's, right, they pretty much have 0 reaction speed. And also, you can see the ends are just a lot bigger. So if you go for like an E like this, right, it's a lot more dodgeable because it's thinner. But if you go like a fat, if you use the tip, it's a lot harder. So you want to kind of go for those kind of E's.
Yeah, your
section in your
that
windows.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So to kind of summarize a few things here, first of all, Maiden is always behind you, so that's very important to be aware of. And then you can reset Maiden aggro with an auto attack, beat me and beat another champion. What else?
The tip's harder.
And then the tower dodging aggro makes a lot of sense. It's just I'm gonna have to try and apply it. E.
The cast time is a constant 0.25 seconds. Okay, so there are two timings for Yorick E. It's the projectile time and the cast time. The cast time can't be reduced, it doesn't matter. But the projectile time is based on distance, and you want to like do it here. So if you do a projectile time right, when you throw it super far away, it'll take like a couple of bit of time to land. But you do it like point blank, boom, instant.
He makes the Maiden stick, and then try to get a point blank E because the hitbox is larger. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it down.
There's a lot of other stuff as well, but it kind of hard to demonstrate. I don't know if you know, but like W is like a really good ability. You can. Is the max projectile time 0.25? Your W is literally a barricade for yourself. So like a really easy way to win hard matchups, or just like deal with hard scenarios is. You can create distance by literally just playing Ring Around a Rosie or standing inside your box in itself. If you stand inside the box, right, and let's say the enemy has like, is Riven. The enemy is Riven. She has to waste a Q3 to get even into the box. And if she gets into the box, and that in itself is not a good position,
dog
right?
is my daddy.
That is such a small segment. That was like literally like 15 seconds. But I've been watching Alois, and interestingly enough, that is what separates a good and like whatever Yorick player. Literally just the W usage alone completely changes Yorick as a champion, especially if you go to the Lehtality build. My favorite part of Yorick, W is the most skill expressive part of Yorick. I wish I had gone about it a bit more because the way you play around your W. So there are a few things that's really hard about Yorick. One of the hardest things about Yorick, you can argue it's the hardest, is the matchups. The matchups are the hardest part about Yorick. And your wall is your only savior, your only tool to deal with like that kind of scenario.
That makes sense.
I'll explain a few matchups straight away on how do you play, on why your W like placement is so important. Let's just say Tryndamere. Tryndamere, right? It's generally a fucking bullshit matchup. He just spins on top of you and smacks you a million times. But if you put a wall, and like if you waste your W, you just put the wall around him, breaks the wall, kills you, and just slams your head in because you can't run away now. You don't have any tools. But if you put the wall on yourself, right, instead of on top of him, you just put it on yourself, and then he E's on top of you, he gets in the box, and then you can make distance by walking away. But if he doesn't E on top of you and breaks the wall instead, doesn't matter because there's distance in between you already. And you can try to play like in and out of the wall to like kind of maneuver around him. Or even better, if you can create distance between already, you can play Ring Around a Rosie where he's on the other side and you're on this side. It's really fucking hard to... There's a lot of scenarios to play out with the W. It's really fun, but it's also really hard because unlike champions in League, right, where you're playing... What are some champions? Like I can't think of any champions. I'm really fucking stupid, right? Oh, Gangplank. Oh, I missed a barrel. Don't worry, I got 3 more. Oh, Darius Q. Don't worry, it's like a 6-second cooldown. Oh, my Narcissus. Narcissus, like Tryndamere E, short cooldown. W, you're only using 1 time in fight. You fuck it up, you're dead. Right? 4 ghouls can solo Drake at pretty much. It's like a Fiora parry, except you don't have any mobility at all in your kit, so
that's pretty
cool to do as well.
That's my favorite thing.
Oh. Yeah, it's so funny. People are just so confused as well. Like, what the hell? 4 ghouls solo Drake, yep.
Yeah, or like any other camp, or just any
Shut up. You can also just have the Graves, like after. If the second they hit a minion wave, they'll just run it down. So something you can do is.
Yeah, now you like lost them, right? They will never follow you again.
Yeah, they'll. But you can also. This is ghoul pushing, and I explain how ghoul AI works. So basically, if ghouls hit a minion, they'll continue run. If a minion or a champion in a lane, they'll continue to run down the lane until they die, no matter what. Unless you E them like onto a camp. Wait a little bit. And then you get control of them again. Ghouls, right? This is also probably one of the most important things in my opinion. So something you can do is. So what you want to do? So it's really easy to do this. All you need is ghouls and graves. So these ghouls are aggroed onto the wave, right?
Like lost them, right? They will never
stack
follow
up
you
graves. Again. Yeah, you wait a little bit and wait until they're out of Yorick's radius. Yorick's radius is invisible. It's not this Q range. It's completely invisible. You just have to kind of get experience to figure it out, right? I'd say it's like around like here-ish, and then you can summon. It's based on how far Yorick is from the ghouls. And once they're far enough, right? Like break a distance, and you have these. You can spawn ghouls for yourself. And now, imagine this tower wasn't here. You'd have 3 ghouls pushing the lane, giving you money XP passively, and you'd be having 3 ghouls on yourself, and you can do anything else. You can fucking jerk off Grump, suck off Rift Herald, or have a fucking frotting session of Dragon. It doesn't fucking matter. At the very least, you have these ghouls pushing, right? Really important. Isn't it just the E range? They fucking changed it like, in like the recent Yorick adjustment, so it's kind of not exact, but it is easier. You just gotta wait till they go far enough. Preferably away from the screen, but you'll figure it out as you get more right. And now you have like, if, let's say this tower wasn't here, like this tower's cleared, you'd have 3 ghouls shoving out top, and you also have 3 ghouls for yourself, and then you kind of just have like an auto pushing lane without Maiden release or anything. That's also why Maiden release is pretty much fucking useless, because that exact thing literally makes it so that like ghoul pushing strat I just did right there, where you have the ghouls push and then you summon graves to yourself, completely invalidates Maiden releases like generally. How long is the coaching? I also go into a game with him, but I'll probably go over the game some other time maybe. I'm just going through this quick little segment.
Yeah, okay, so I've been applying this. Some issues that I have is
I just watch passive when it goes to 0. Is that how? Wait, what?
I'd be like,
if the second a little bit, like break a distance, and you... What? Wait, Stumpy, what the fuck? This first time chatter just fucking... What the fuck? What the fuck? I never knew that. If it leaves the range, it tells you now. Is that... Wait, has that always... I never knew that. What the fuck? Not down, so something you can do is...
Yeah, now you like lost them, right? They will
so it says it's, so 3 or 4 ghouls around you, right?
never follow you again.
Yeah, they'll, but you can also wait a little bit, like break a distance, and then leave the range. It says 0-4. Wow, I didn't even know that. I've always just done it as an instinctive thing, like in my brain, because like I fucking know the distance. That's gonna be really useful for you guys, right? I thought that was basic knowledge. I thought that I knew this number existed. I just thought that was like how much ghouls you have out or some shit. I didn't realize that. Okay. This doesn't matter for really good Yorick mains, but for all those trying to learn this concept, that's really fucking useful. Gold for knowledge. Hey, Faker lost to a gold brand player, so like. So you have these gold players are too good. And now you have like, if, let's say this tower wasn't here, like this tower's cleared, you'd have 3 ghouls shoving out top, and you also have 3 ghouls for yourself. That's insane. I never knew that. Without Maiden release or anything.
But I feel inconsistent with
even a whiff of a sight, they would just gun straight.
Because then I probably like spawn them too fast or something like that, so that they don't chase me anymore.
It's just that if they catch like even a whiff of a sight, they will just gun straight for the minion pretty much.
Okay, that's good to know. They do not let them close. Do not let them even smell it.
Yeah, it's coaching here. He's coaching who now? Literally every single of these ghouls will run it down, right? So you want to clear it out, and that's why a profane hydra is like a really important item, because it makes getting graves like this a lot easier, and it makes setting up so that like having these ghouls push and having ghouls to yourself really easy to do.
Yeah.
I think profane. Okay, I just want to talk about this because I haven't really talked about it. I don't know why. I'm fucking stupid. Last season, Ravenous Hydra on Yorick was really broken for like 2 reasons, and I've talked about it last season, right? Ravenous Hydra back in the day, where it worked with your abilities, right? Last season, used to be really powerful because it gave you one really important like tool that nothing in like itemization gave you. It gave you time. Ravenous Hydra would insta fucking clear waves. And because you insta clear waves, right, you get prior to do other stuff, like you get 5 extra seconds, right, which would be spent wasting time clearing a wave. And that's really important because then you get like 5 extra seconds, just go down, grump, clear it real quick, right? Not just Profane Hydra, Tiamat items in general in Yorick do that. And that's why I think Tiamat items are fundamentally just broken on Yorick. It's really like, I think Eclipse is really good. I think it's actually one of Yorick's best items, but Profane last is... I think Profane's just straight up broken in Yorick. It makes him so that he has so much more like threat in a combo, just damage, but also I think the most valuable part of Profane is because you have you can clear waves fast, clear monsters faster. It just gives you time.
Is that fucking true? Does Profane Hydra have AoE lifesteal?
Well,
I want to try that
Time,
practice tool. Wait,
And when you have time, you can
No
literally
way.
just, oh, I'm gonna have 3 ghouls. These ghouls are just gonna solo
What?
Gromp, right?
You guys
can do
trolling
so
me?
much with just like like 2,
What the
3
fuck?
extra seconds.
Yeah,
on
no,
Yorick.
that's exactly how I felt too. Like the way you're describing it, because Profane Hydra, regarding this stat, like I can see Eclipse being really good and it gives you a faster spike. But once you hit that Profane Hydra, it will just help you get to any other spike so much faster, just because how
Yeah,
obscenely fast it makes you on the map.
Yeah, so this is the main difference, right? Eclipse is a really good first item. Eclipse is a very good first item strike and a very fast one, and it's incredibly powerful. But Profane Hydra is like an accelerant, right? Where if you get it, it's really strong, but it also just boosts you up so much in terms of speed and getting snowballs ahead. And that's the main difference. Eclipse, very generalist power item, but Profane, very, very good for snowballing. What's up, Izzy? Puckrick regularly releases Maiden and he's pretty successful with it. I mean, Puckrick is a great player and I respect him, but he doesn't exactly run the most optimal setups and doesn't do the most optimal things, and that's completely fine. But also, yeah, like releasing Maiden regularly is not like, I don't know how to say this properly, but I've said it like I say, right? If it works for you, just fucking do it. Who gives a shit?
And without it, you are way slower. So I've also
get 50
Profane
gold
Hydra.
from
It would
fuck-
Always advocate for like Serrated Dirk into Profane. But as of recent, you just build whatever is like most convenient for you. So for example, right? Okay, I never ever go Tiamat. I think Tiamat early game is really, you want to go at last at the very least because
I don't like Tiamat early on Yorick because one, you don't have any wave control anymore, and it helps you shove faster, sure, and it is a combo tool, but sure. But Serrated Dirk has lethality, gives you damage. Brutalizer has damage abilities, gives you damage, and Tiamat, you buy 2 longswords, you already have the same ideas. Like
it can fuck up
before
your
item.
wave management. It can just like completely ruin lanes if you're Maiden's dead or something. So I don't go Tiamat at all. So like if I have a return and I have 900 gold, right, which is just not enough for Dirk, I will just go pickaxe. And that way it's a lot like easier to purchase a brutalizer because it's a bit of an annoying component to buy.
Yeah.
But if I have 1k and I can afford a straight Dirk, that's a lot of power you're gonna return to lane with, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you're gonna just afford a brutalizer, right?
Why I go Serrated Dirk first item? Because it gives you lethality, and it's probably the fact that this hasn't been nerfed. Actually, they did nerf it, but I think they should get nerfed more. It gives you lethality, and lethality is probably the most broken stat in the game because early game when nobody has armor, right? You just fucking shred them. It gives you so much kill pressure. If you want to kill in lane, Serrated Dirk is by far the best item. And yes, it will slow down your item. It is a bit expensive, but it's so worth it. If you get even 1 kill with it, because you're gonna build it into something later, right? But it's just amazing.
You may as well just go the brutalizer. It's only 2 less lethality, but you also get ability haste, and it also pairs nicely to like slot it in Profane if you get enough money on your next back.
So it's just a matter of what reset timer you actually get, like in terms of gold.
Yeah, it's a versatile.
Yeah, exactly. If you have 1k, you go Dirk. If you have 1.3k, you just go brutalizer, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have 1.2 or like 1.25,
Yeah, I'm confident you just not go like a pickaxe and a longsword for flexibility's sake.
kind of feels awkward to itemize because, like you said, there's a Tiamat component. But once it finishes, it feels so nice. But you kind of want that strength with the Dirk. But I always feel like, you know, requiring 4k gold for your first item just makes it so long to get there. And if you then don't stay on the curve, where like you fall slightly behind, I feel like you never really reach it. Or like you take so long before you reach it. So I guess it's just gonna be like experimenting for me as well.
This is a cool little thing you can do with W. If there's a counter wave, like it's a lot easier to do, but you can W to block out the wave, and it helps you shove waves in, and they can also
Cool,
just like
check
go
that.
this way, which is pretty funny.
Hi, Chloe.
What the hell is that? This is a new fundamental boss man. I've never even seen that. I know you can redirect
one
minions, but not like all the way around. What the hell?
Yeah, it's because
People ask me why you W in the tower. I'll talk about it here.
Yarks, like, for some reason, they don't go around here. They just, like, go through around the entire way. Also, like, you can use W. So, one thing about W is,
I'll sometimes just randomly W on a tower, and that's because wall takes priority of everything, and it can often like protect the tower shot for like a Ghoul, a Maiden, or even you if you go for like a dive, right? So something I commonly really do is, let's say I'm pushing, I just put a W like this, and this gives me time to get to the tower kind of deeper, so I can shove faster.
Okay, is it always one shot the W, or if you have more points in it, it takes more turret shots?
It's one shot no matter what.
Okay.
So yeah, it's also a bit awkward because you can see it takes a bit of time to kind of prep up as well. So you got to be careful of that.
Yeah. But
In terms of W referral attack, I don't think I did, but I think already knows it. Zuzu challenger? I'll check it out in a second after this. I'm
but
almost
one
done
turret
with
shot
this.
can make a difference a lot of times, so that's interesting to see as well. Never even thought that the W
exactly.
takes turret aggro.
You can even, another useful thing is, because W also takes one tower shot. Let's say you have like 4 ghouls, and you wanna really poke the enemy on the tower, right? You can use like W and E, and because the tower will aim like the wall as main priority, like a ghoul can get like more hits in as well.
Banger. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's such a it's a mechanic you'll rarely use, but there's gonna be a scenario where it's just super efficient. So I'll keep it in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I think that mechanic seems like really, I don't do it too often as well, but it seems really, really weird and like not unintuitive. But the thing about blocking even one tower shot from ghouls or maiden is really important, because let's say you block one ghoul shot, right? Then that could be an extra attack from like one ghoul like 3 times. It could mean literally so many extra ghoul attacks, it's incomprehensible, you know?
I think
If I pause the video like this, I'm talking. If Pokerick is talking and if Pokerick is
that's mostly it. Oh yeah, ghouls run. I saw the interaction last night actually when I was watching your stream. So if ghouls I'm sure right now.
Wait, what clip did you see? What clip did you see?
I was watching last night. There was like a, I don't remember. I think it was a Pantheon.
Yes.
Who, like died to like a really fast ghoul.
Yes, that was the
fuck.
Way.
I don't explain it well. But basically I talk about the really fast ghouls thing, right? So a recent change they made was ghouls run really fast if they're ghouls and maiden run really fast when they're returning to Yorick if they're far away. This movement speed, like this kind of speed, is it's only when they're returning to Yorick, right? However, if they're in the jungle or the enemy or in your base or enemy base, it completely doesn't give a shit. They will gain that movement speed if Yorick is far away, full stop. So if they're chasing an enemy in the jungle, right, and you're like at base, they'll fucking gun at 100 movement speed. Or you don't even need to be in base, you just need to be like relatively far. Because something you can abuse is like, let's say ghouls and maidens chasing down the enemy in the jungle, you can intentionally walk further away and get far enough to the point where they start running at the ghouls at 600 movement speed. I might even have a clip of it right now. Let me see if I can find it. I think like the kill against Freak, right? You know the kill against Freak? I show that concept completely perfectly. Or even Hoshinshin, yeah. It feels weird to even say the word Hoshinshin. Is that why we get Zuma Yorick's running Hoshinshin down? Zuma Yorick. Okay, yeah. So, I guess the Hoshinshin clip, right? I don't know why the ghoul actually speeds up here. I believe the reason why the ghoul sped up here is because enough time had elapsed to the point where... Actually, no, it was just because like Yorick's really far away. But yeah, that's basically the thing. Let's see if I found the free clip. I might have deleted the VOD though. I hope I didn't. It was really funny. I can't find it. I might have deleted it. Oh no.
Well, like the further Yorick is away, ghouls return to you super quick. So you can see these ghouls, they just speed back to you like this.
But it's very consistent in jungle and whatnot, right?
Yeah, they aggro for literally ever.
So you can see, I show here.
But yeah, they keep this movement speed when they're in the jungle.
Like they're in the jungle, so
or in the enemy base. If like Yorick's really far away. So one thing you could even like low-key abuse this, right? Where you could go for an E on the enemy, like
if you buy
jungle, and then you just...
Someone asked, if you buy movement speed, the ghouls get them as well. If you buy movement speed, base movement speed increases, like Dead Man's Play boots, they increase the movement speed of the ghouls. That's why something like Swifties is especially good, right? But percentage increase in movement speed do not apply to ghouls. That's why like I don't go to the mini rune over here where it's like get 2% movement speed because it doesn't apply to the ghouls. It's okay, but you know, I would like more speed in the ghouls. Just run straight away, and then the ghouls will just keep chasing at them at like increased movement speed the further you run away.
Very weird mechanic.
I'm pretty sure it's not intended, but like it's something new that came along with like the last adjustments. Yeah, like Hullbreaker wouldn't give movement speed because it's percentage increase, but Boots would, right? And Dead Man's Plate, which is like gain plus 40 movement speed as you're running around, it would give it as well. I think that's scenarios where it's kind of useful. So let's say you're in a big fight. And I talked about Maiden release earlier. Release it when you're a fight. Blah blah blah. Like.
Oh no, it goes both anyways.
Maiden,
like here. No, recap.
Alois is like, this part's really simple. Alois is like, what the hell? When I release Maiden and base, right, they just go whatever fucking random lane. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't release Maiden and base. It's very inconsistent.
Cast the Maiden, and it just walked all the way to bot. Yeah, like exactly like this. Or now it goes mid.
Yeah, don't release Maiden like before you hit in the inhibitors. Go to the inhibitors, then you can release Maiden. Like, it'll be relatively consistent. If you do release Maiden.
Sideways at once. Maybe that's the only way that I can see it like being half decent.
I think that's it. At the back.
Yeah, and you can always have like the TP thread or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Game together.
Yeah. I talked about Maiden release a bit more. I explained it earlier. But yeah, that's basically it. Wow, I talked really fucking long about that, didn't I? Did I just spend like an entire hour talking about like that part? How even long was this part? This is like 20-30 minutes. I won't go over the fucking gameplay coaching today, but I do want to clarify because I don't talk that much about the gameplay. It's really interesting. I highly recommend watching Alois. I'm queuing up right now. I highly recommend watching Alois. He's really interesting.